You're listening to Living Out Loud with my mom, Michele Flamer. Yep, she's a flamer and proud of it. Get ready to learn about queers in your communities doing great things every week.
Welcome back to Living Out Loud, and I'm so happy that you have joined me for today's very special solo cast. And end of summer, the guests are coming back, trust me, and we've got some amazing lineups coming. So I'm really excited for that. Tonight's solo cast is really, what if the part of your life that feels, the most confusing right now isn't proof that you're lost? What if it's proof that something inside you is changing? We are so quick to treat uncertainty like an emergency. We want to name it, fix it, organize it, and turn it into some kind of plan. We want to know where the relationship is going, what our next move should be, and who we're supposed to become. Because somewhere along the way, we learn that clarity means we're doing life right. But becoming rarely begins with clarity, right? Sometimes it begins with restlessness. Sometimes with an ending you didn't choose. Sometimes with a question you cannot answer yet. And sometimes it begins with the quiet realization that the life you've been living no longer fits the person you're actually becoming. Dr. Orna Gerland, if you watch Couples Therapy on Showtime, I think it might be on Paramount now, I am obsessed with that show. Dr. Orna is like literally one of my favorites. Anyways, she offers this beautiful invitation of a quote: give yourself the breath, the time, and the space to tolerate a level of confusion. Don't rush to make it clear. So giving yourself the breath, the time, and the space. How I take that really is that when we're feeling a really heavy thought, don't rush to make it clear. Sit in the messy, the muckiness of it, and really take time to allow it to just sort of penetrate you. Because there's so much good juice in that. Like the squeeze there is so good. And I really feel like that's sort of the heart of this episode. Because maybe you don't need to rush towards an answer. Maybe you need enough space to hear yourself. Maybe you aren't falling behind while everyone else moves forward. Maybe your life is asking you to pause, pay attention, and become more honest about what you want now. So let me ask you something. Have you ever looked around at your life and thought, am I behind? You're not behind, you're becoming. And that's the title of this episode. Have you ever looked around at your life and thought, am I behind? Maybe you thought you'd be married by now. Maybe you thought you'd be divorced by now. Maybe you thought you'd have your career figured out. Maybe you thought you'd know exactly who you are and who you were supposed to be by this age. Maybe you thought you'd be further along. And somewhere along the way, we started treating it like a race. The word that came to me in that moment was just America, North America, US especially. We're always racing somewhere. We are constantly working. We are constantly waking up depleted. And I feel like there's this invisible timeline we're all supposed to follow. Graduate, build a career, find your person, buy the house, create the family, figure yourself out. And if your life doesn't follow that timeline, you can start to wonder if something went wrong. Tonight, I want to offer a different possibility. Maybe you're not behind, but maybe you are becoming. The discomfort of not knowing, one of the hardest things about becoming someone new is that there is usually a period when you don't yet know who you're supposed to be, who that person is yet. And guess what? In Buddhist philosophy and Buddhist religion, there is no past and there is no future. All we have is the present. So celebrate that person. Celebrate whoever you're becoming. You're not who you were, but you're not completely sure who you're becoming. And that middle space can feel really icky. It can feel uncomfortable. It can feel like confusion. It can feel like loneliness. Another thing that I really love that Dr. Orna said is give yourself that time, going back to that and the space to tolerate a level of confusion. Don't rush to make it clear. Does that make more sense now? I just love that because we are constantly trying to resolve this uncertainty. We want answers. And is this the right relationship? Is this the right job? Should I stay? Should I go? What does this all mean? But sometimes the answer isn't available yet. Sometimes you're supposed to sit with the question. Ask yourself, where in my life am I demanding an answer before I'm ready to have one? Maybe it's your side hustle. Maybe it's getting out of your corporate job and moving on to something new. Maybe it's just moving. Maybe it's just creating a new space in your own home. There's so many great ways to evolve and change, and it doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be these big things. It can be small things. Where am I rushing myself because uncertainty makes me uncomfortable? Sit in that for a second. Where am I rushing myself because uncertainty makes me uncomfortable? Where in your life, this is the questions you can ask yourself. This is the journal prompt. Where in your life you were uncertain and it felt really uncomfortable? Where was that? How old were you? Was it from a parent? Was it just from something in you? Was it from school, teacher, a coach? So sit in that for a second and think about it, because there's so much to tell in that muscle reflex, the echoes of our past. Your relationships can become mirrors, as we know, right? This is where I think relationships become so fascinating in the process of who we are becoming. We often think we're looking for someone who will make us feel safe, loved, chosen, and understood. And yes, we want those things. But relationships also reveal us. They show us our attachment patterns, our fears, our defenses, the places where we still abandon ourselves, the places where we expect another person to soothe something we haven't learned to soothe within ourselves. And sometimes the relationship isn't difficult because it's wrong. Sometimes it's difficult because it is showing us something. That doesn't mean we stay in unhealthy relationships. It means we become curious. Instead of immediately asking, what's wrong with them? We can ask sometimes of ourselves, what's happening inside of me right now? That's a very different question. You can love someone and still keep becoming. This is where I always think of Esther Perel. One of the things I appreciate about Esther is that she doesn't treat relationships as simple. Love can want closeness. Desire can need space. We want security, and we also want surprises. We want to be deeply known, and we still want to be discovered. And I think that's true. Beyond romantic relationships, we are allowed to evolve. You can love your life and still want something different. You can love someone and still discover new parts of yourself. You can be grateful for where you've been and still know you don't want to stay there. You can change your mind. You can outgrow an identity. You can start again. I love the quote, we're not trees, we can move, you know? Excuse me, it has really been hot today here in Phoenix, and I am super thirsty. I love the idea of starting again. And none of that means the previous version of you was even wrong. It means you're alive. It really means you're alive. And when you are learning yourself, when you get to meet yourself, all these new, beautiful versions, you know, there's a freedom to it. There's a freedom in the way that you end up walking through the world. And it's rather beautiful, actually. And the fact that you get to like be present with yourself and then you stop abandoning yourself in those moments. So meeting yourself with curiosity, meeting yourself and others with curiosity allows that reciprocity to happen. And not all friends will meet you exactly where you are. It might take a little bit of time. A new friend, there might be a new cadence that has to be developed, but it just means that you get to sit and watch yourself grow. And I just think that is so beautiful. So when you are alive, when you are in this beautiful moment of self admiration, right? And just understanding self and being self-centered in the sense of knowing your core, you then stop abandoning yourself, because no matter where we are in the world, there we are. That's, it's like we can't escape ourselves. So when we stop abandoning ourselves, it's where I want to bring Jillian Turecki into this. And she's also one of my favorites. I mean, these women have helped me grow so much through their books, through their podcasts, through episodes. But so much of dating and relationships can become about, will they choose me? Do they like me? Are they going to stay? Am I enough? Am I too much? But what if we turn the question around? Do I choose me? Do I like who I am when I'm this person? Do I feel like myself? Am I communicating what I actually need? Am I honoring my boundaries? Am I staying because this relationship is healthy or because I'm afraid of losing it? I believe that, Jillian came into my life because her work repeatedly brings us back to self-awareness, self-worth, and the relationship we have with ourselves. And that matters because you can spend your life trying to be chosen and completely forget to choose yourself. So maybe you're not late. And I want to talk about this idea of being behind, because I think especially as we get older, we start looking at the lives around us. Comparison is the thief of joy, guys. Don't look at someone else's life You don't know what it feels like to live in their body, and they could have everything that is, the nice car, the nice house. They can have everything that's external, but inside they may be broken and sad and dealing with some really heavy stuff. So let's not look at them and compare. We just need to look at ourselves, because someone is going to be getting married. Someone over there is retiring. Someone is starting a business. Someone is traveling the world. Someone is falling in love. Someone seems to have it figured all out. Nope. And we compare their chapter 20 to our chapter 7. I've said this a lot, actually, to friends and even to myself, that we cannot compare their chapter 20 to possibly our chapter 7 or even our chapter 1. We all had to start somewhere. We forget that there isn't one timeline. There is your timeline and mine and hers and theirs. Maybe the relationship you thought would happen at 30 happens at 50, or maybe even 57. Maybe the career you thought you'd retire from isn't even the career you start with. Think about when you were back in your 20s and everything you wanted to do, and then today. Maybe the person you thought you were supposed to become isn't actually the person you want to be. Maybe the most important chapter of your life hasn't even happened yet. Just sit with that. Isn't that beautiful? That maybe there is more to your life. Maybe everything is going to actually work out in the way that you want it. And you know what? Even if it hasn't happened yet, that's still okay. Back, when I was younger, I really thought that I was going to be going from the Air Force as a canine cop. I really thought about forensics and possibly joining the LAPD when I moved home from the Air Force. But guess what? It was during the freaking it was during the riots. And I saw the way that cops were actually dealing with people at the time. And this was in 1992, the Rodney King riots in LA. It just, boom. And I really thought at that point that I didn't know what I was going to do. I had gone, to do some college. I then went into the military, and I really didn't know what was going to happen. I saw my friends getting married. I saw some of my friends having babies, I was 23, 24 at the time, and I really didn't know. But I now look back at my whole career, and I wrote a book about it recently called The Connect Effect. And it's just so fascinating to see where you end up. I mean, I just have to say, it's that version of me, many, many versions of me, I didn't know. There's so much I didn't know. It's like hindsight, right? It's 2020. And I'm so grateful though for all of the no's and all of the pivots and everything, that I just didn't know to know yet. I just used to kind of feel like that uncertainty meant I was lost. Now I wonder if it was just meant I was obviously becoming who I am. So if you're listening to this tonight and you're feeling behind, I want you to take a breath. You don't have to have the next 5 years figured out. You don't have to know exactly where this relationship is going. You don't have to know exactly who you're becoming and if this job is going to be forever. You don't have to turn your life into a 5-year plan just because everyone else seems to have one. You can, though, pay attention. You can get curious. You can start trusting your intuition and listening to yourself. But that means you have to get quiet. You can let things unfold, and you can trust that not knowing doesn't mean nothing is happening. Something is always happening, and you are becoming. So here's the question I want to leave you with tonight. If I stopped worrying about where I thought I should be, what would I choose for my life and myself right now? Not 5 years from now, not even 2 years from now, not when I'm healed. Guys, we're never fully healed. Not when I'm thinner, not when I have more money, not when someone chooses me. Right now, what would you choose? Because maybe the goal isn't to finally arrive at some perfect version of yourself. Maybe the goal is to keep becoming more honest, more present, more connected, and more yourself. You're not behind. You're not late. You're not missing your life. You're living it. Stay in the present. If you haven't read or even listened to The Power of Now, please go listen or read that book. It is so fantastic because maybe this season you are exactly where you're supposed to be. Thank you all for listening. Hope you have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you next week right here.
If you liked this episode, please hit the follow button, and remember, sharing is caring. Until next week, stay proud, stay loud.